We are live. What's going on, solar community? We are back on a special update on the FFCRA tax credit, the leave credit that is taking the community by storm. People don't realize how much money is available out there for them, up to $32,000 if you were 1099 in the years 2020 or 2021. And that is it. And if you had COVID, and there's a lot of other parts of it, if you had kids, if there's daycare, and if you're sick, and all that good stuff. But this is a lot of money that's sitting there for a lot of people that they may not know about. So this is what we're doing. We have a special guest here, my friend Joseph Horn, who's in the representative of Figure Financial, who's in the data analytics department, who is a wealth of information, is always coming on here and getting the community knowledgeable on what's going on with the FFCRA tax rate. Joseph, thanks for being here, my man.
Absolutely, Joe. Thanks for having me on, man.
Man, I want to make sure, we can keep this quick and right to the point. We're not going to take an hour here, but I want to make sure the community knows what is going on, why it's out there, why they don't know about it, and how they can get it. So I'm going to kind of give you the stage and just talk about the FFCRA leave credit.
Yeah. So the FFCRA Leave Credit, it was a small part of a massive piece of legislation that the government put out in the early days of the COVID, and then it got extended in a couple more pieces of legislation. The reason why a lot of people haven't heard about it is because it's thousands and thousands of pages, and it's just kind of buried in there. And you have to really know what you're looking for in order to go find it. So what this is similar to what employers were able to get for these FFCRA credits, where they could get money back for sick leave paid to their employees. If you're self-employed, so 1099, you own your own business, anything like that, you can get that money back that you paid to yourself. So it's a pretty straightforward process. There's a little bit of documentation that we'll need to collect from you. We have a couple questionnaires that are created in accordance with the tax law and with guidance to help us move you along through the process, gather all the information we need to substantiate your credit, but not too much more. And then we want to keep you guys moving through, get you this money back. And like Joe, you're saying, up to $32,000. It sounds crazy. It sounds crazy. And I'm right there with you guys. But we have people who we have delivered this full $32,000 of credits to. So it's out there. It is very real. And everyone who was 1099 self-employed in these years should at the very least apply. It doesn't hurt to apply. There's no downside. We're going to take a look at your information and let you know.
You know what? There's a major update that I want to make sure everybody knows, because I don't think we hit on it hard enough on the last updates and the announcement that anyone who's eligible for the year 2020 for the FFCRA leave credit, it is expiring in a couple of months, less than 2 months, on April 15th. After that date, no one who had 1099 in 2020 will be able to get that anymore. Half the money that we're talking about will be gone. So then after that, it will only be up to $16,000 available, which still is amazing. But if you have the opportunity right now to double that in the next 2 months, why not do that? So Joseph, can you talk about that? What's the process? What do people have to do? How do they get started? And do they still have time to get it in before April right now?
You absolutely still have time to get it in before April. So let me just walk you through as if you're someone who was applying for this today. If you filled out our application, you would immediately upon completion of it be presented with an email that has a few different extra steps to fill out. So there's a form 8821. We're going to ask you to fill that out, and we're going to file that with the IRS, and that's going to give us visibility of your payroll tax records. It'll allow us to prepare your amended returns, track your amended returns so we can see whether they're approved, rejected, how the credit's moving along through the process. We're also going to have you sign our initial services contract. We're going to have you fill out a second questionnaire that's going to give us all the information that we need to substantiate your credit. And then finally, there's a $150 initial filing deposit. That's a fee that we charge to review all of the information. And if you don't qualify and there's no credit for you, you get that $150 right back. But if you do get a credit, that $150 goes right into the final fee at the end of the process. So you're paying upfront, but you're not losing any money whatsoever. We have in total about a 3 to 4 week process from the moment you apply to the moment that we've got you your final credits delivered in your inbox and ready to sign. So that means we've got roughly 3 weeks before we really start pushing that envelope a little bit. So the earlier you do it, guys, the better. Like Joe's saying, half this money is 2020. So if you miss that deadline, you can still get great money, but not nearly as much.
And this is, you don't only have to go through Figure Financial or the FFCRA You can go through any CPA or do it yourself. We just want you guys to do it, get the money. But Figure Financial has made it super easy to get it. And they do an 80-20 split. Where they do all the work, get all the paperwork done, get everything they need to make sure you get your money, you lay back, you enjoy the ride, and they deliver you 80% of the money that is available to you. I said that in very poor layman's terms. Joseph, can you kind of explain how that 80-20 works and how do they actually get their money in their hands?
Yeah. So at the end of the process, we'll present you with a final report that's going to have a total summary of your credit. It's going to have how you substantiate your credit from like a documentation standpoint. And then it's also going to have your amended returns that you're going to sign and send back to us so that we can get them filed. For 2020, all returns must be paper filed. So all checks you get for 2020 are going to be mailed to you physically to the mailing address that we collect from you early in the process. For 2021, we're requesting direct deposits if that's what you choose. If you prefer mail check, we can do that as well. But the direct deposit option is available as we're e-filing these returns. So those 2021 returns take roughly 3 to 6 weeks to get back to you. And the mailed checks, because it has to go through a whole, the postal system, all that kind of stuff, it takes about 6 to 12 weeks for you to actually see that refund. But it's just a check right to you. And if you happen to owe taxes previously on some of your old returns, then the credit that you get will be first applied to those taxes, and the difference will be mailed to you via check.
100%. So I'm going to put you on a hot seat. We got a great question. Actually, it's a statement, but I have gotten this a couple of times and I had my way to answering, but I got the expert here. So I'll have you answer. So I'm going to pull it up here.
Yeah.
So Facebook user wants to know, one huge caveat for filling it is, my high-level tax guy made me aware that pretty much every single one of these that get this credit will trigger an audit of their taxes. If you're going to file, be buttoned up and above the belt. I thought that was more the other one, the ERC, but this is why I'm here for this one too. Can you please answer that question?
Yeah, absolutely. So right out of the gate, there's roughly a 5% chance that any individual is going to get selected for audit. And we have not personally seen from our experience that this probability increases at all for people filing for this credit. Now, if you do get an investigation into your taxes from this credit, we, in our final deliverable that we give you, have everything you need to just tell the IRS, hey, this is how I qualify, and you're set. I mean, the deliverable is audit ready, but we are aware that some people are getting audited, but we haven't seen a higher rate than normal for any other tax credits or any other general tax situations because of this credit specifically.
So thank you. You hit that right on the head. I appreciate that. Another question real quick. You may have answered it, but Facebook user wants to know, what needs to be filed additionally to get this credit?
So this credit's actually just going to be an amendment of your previously filed 2020 and 2021 taxes. There's an additional form that our CPA team is going to include, which is called a Form 7202. And this is what the actual credit is filed on, but we'll file that with the amended 1040X, and we'll just get all of that over with your signature to the government. So for you, what you need to do is just submit the documentation, do a couple signatures at the end, and you're all set. Everything else is on us, and we take care of it.
All right. Got another question. I'm going to keep shooting at you here.
Absolutely.
Josh Meyer wants to know, what if I'm not sure of the exact dates I was down or affected?
See, that's a tricky one. We do have to be able to pin this one to specific dates. What I would say is check your social media if you have it. You may have posted something. I mean, we've had people submit screenshots of their Instagram story where they were just laying in bed saying, man, COVID sucks. and like, we've got them qualified right there. Take a look at any of the stay-at-home orders that were in your area. If you can recall having to be subject to a stay-at-home order, or if you have your vaccine card and you had to take off work, your vaccine card is going to be dated for at least 2 days, assuming you got one of the 2-dose ones, but one day if you had the 1 dose. Look at that. That's a day right there. There's a bunch of different ways to be able to find it, but if you cannot narrow it down to specific dates, unfortunately, you're not able to apply for this credit, because we do have to be able to have a record of each specific day that we're claiming the credit for.
Yes. So, speaking of that, why don't I share my screen, kind of go over the form so people kind of know what to expect when filling it out? What do you think?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right. So I want to make sure people know first and foremost that the way to get to this page is, I made it super simple, making things nice and easy. Like you guys know, I like my domains. FFCRA will take you directly to this form. And once you fill this form out, it'll go directly to Figure Financial. And I promise you, they will start working on it, because I know these guys are on it. They get back to you. They're really on top of their game. So as soon as you go to FFCRAapp.com, fill this form out. So this is how it works. I just came up to the site here. So Joseph, kind of go let people know what to expect and what to fill out here and why they're filling it out.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of this upfront work that we're doing on this initial application are guided questions to get you thinking about the different ways that we're going to be calculating your credit and the information we're going to be looking for. So right out of the gate, we want to talk about the type of business that you own. We know a lot of people out there in the solar sales community are self-employed, but run through an S Corp maybe and pay themselves a W-2 through their S Corp. In that situation, in the government's eyes, you would not be technically self-employed for this credit. So we want to iron that out right there at the beginning. Sole proprietorships and partnerships are what we're looking for. So that's a big question right front and center.
Yep.
And then moving past that, it's all of the different questions to get you thinking about, what was I doing at the time? Did I have a business back then? Do I have children? Was I impacted by COVID? Were there stay-at-home orders? Did I have to quarantine? Was I exposed? All kinds of questions. And depending on how you answer them, there's more leading questions. It'll ask you, who did you have to take care of? And at the end, you get to this point where you can estimate your credit if you would like to. So if you hit yes, it's going to ask you a rough range of your income for each of these 3 years. And then it's going to ask you about the number of days you took. So you're thinking back to the questions you just filled in. Oh man, I had to quarantine. Well, most quarantine states were 14 days of quarantine. So you just put those dates in right there. Boom, you're qualified. I was sick. I tested positive. Well, again, 14 days. Boom, qualified. So anything that you can think of, my child's school was closed. At the end of 2020, a lot of schools were closing. So, a lot of people are getting childcare days right there, assuming that they meet the criteria for a childcare day. All of this is questions that we've, kind of curated through doing this process hundreds of times at this point and seeing this is what works best to get people thinking about the right questions that we're looking for. And then at the end, we're just going to gather your contact information so we can get you into our system. And once we have all of that, you hit submit at the very end and boom, you get an email from our team. You've got those 4 things I talked about earlier with the Form 8821, the contract, the second questionnaire that's going to be more detailed. And that's what we use to actually calculate the credit, not just estimate it here. And then finally, that $150 upfront deposit. But as soon as you click submit, you're in our system. We are moving. We see you. We've got a team assigned to work on your credit because we know, and we're trying to get the word out there too, along with Joe, this is expiring soon for 2020. So time is of the essence. We are very focused on it. A lot of you guys, maybe you're watching this and you've already applied. You've probably seen my name pop up in your inbox because I am here. Our whole team is here working on these credits to get them calculated as soon as possible for you.
Yes. So first thing you do, and this is some people who are very close to me are saying, "Oh, what is that? What is that thing?" And they still haven't filled it out because they think it's too good to be true. It's not believable. They're not going to get it. I'm telling you, anybody who was 1099 in 2020 and 2021, you had COVID, you probably are getting money, and we're talking about thousands of dollars, probably in your pocket, up to $26,000. I mean.
Yep.
Who couldn't ask for that right now? So we got another question in here, Joseph. If you don't mind.
Absolutely.
I didn't read it yet, so let me see what JC's asking. JC Geraldo, what if you had a mix of W-2 and self-employed during that period? Good question, JC.
That's a great question. The W-2 wage that you received would not be eligible for the credit, but the self-employed wage that you received would. So still submit an application. We'll look at your self-employed income. And we're also going to ask you to submit that W-2. The reason being, you're capped out at $32,000 of this credit. If you had received any form of payment from an employer for self-employment leave, then we would have to remove that from your personal cap because it's to the person, to the taxpayer, not necessarily just from the self-employed source. So on your W-2, we're going to be taking a look at box 14, and it's going to tell us if you had any form of FFCRA payment from an employer, and we'll just make sure to back that out in accordance with the IRS regulations. But definitely apply. We want to look at it. And if you have qualifying days and you've got self-employment income, you can still get a credit.
I mean, I think you hit everything right on the head, answered everybody's questions, making sure everybody knows this expires in April. And if it's something you don't know, find out now. Don't wait till after April. It's like, oh, I should have done that. That's the worst thing to do. So definitely at least fill that out. FFCRAapp.com. You can find out how much you make. And if you're not getting anything, you could get the 150 back, right? So really, you're only paying 150 if you're guaranteed to make money then. Which is not a bad place to spend $150. FFCRAapp.com will take you directly to that form. Joseph, anything else? Any last thoughts? Anything you want to add to the solar community to make sure they jump on this?
I want to close out with just saying, Joe, you've mentioned it a few times. It sounds too good to be true. And I promise you guys, it sounds too good, but it is true. We, as a company at Figure Financial, I mean, we've delivered over $800 million of tax credits to businesses and self-employed individuals through many different credits so far. For this specific FFCRA credit, we have calculated this credit and filed it for our own employees. So we are not just saying, hey, come do this for us and we'll get you this. We're doing it for ourselves too. That's how much we believe in it. So definitely apply. If you're even thinking about applying, apply. It does not hurt for us to take a look at your information. Worst case scenario, you get your money back. We're all on our way. But best case scenario, you get $32,000. I mean, come on. It is that cool. So apply. We're happy to look at it. And other than that, yeah, Joe, thanks for having me, man. And thanks for helping spread the word about this one.
Solar community. This was Joseph Horn with Figure Financial, with the data analytics department, helping us out, learning what's going on with the FFCRA, helping you get money in your pocket. Don't miss out. The FFCRAapp.com. Check it out, baby. Thanks, Joseph. Appreciate you, bro. We are
absolutely,
out.
Man.
Peace.